Okay, Bruce. Sorry for the delay, but my sleep patterns, they get a little erratic and it caught up to me. So I'm just going to show you how I would walk into doing one of these, basically from step one of logging in and looking for the post that I'm supposed to. Excuse me. Now you might actually uh, hear what sounds like a jet plane in the background. That's my furnace, and it's so loud and it's so cold right now that it's constantly kicking on. So we're gonna have to live with that background noise. Okay, now I'm just gonna go to post. Let's see what drafts you've saved. Okay, so this is the first one. Tick off the comments on these before we publish them. Okay, first trick I'll show you is let's left align this so we can get some text wrapping around it, save some space. We'll come back to this. We can add a link to this later. That's part of our desired needs. It looks like there's an extra space up here, so I'm just going to go over here to text, and I'm just going to remove this extra spacing. You'll see when I do that, it brings it up even. So we have another image here, which is good. More the merrier. And we have 2014 New Year resolution, weight loss. Sounds okay. Here's how I would actually put it. It's New Year's, but that's actually with the apostrophe is probably best not to do it. New Year resolutions, let's call it resolutions. And then what we can do is use a pipe here. Now that's not going to end up showing up. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. We'll call it New Year resolutions. We'll just leave it like that. I think we can work with that. So then we just take the title, and it says this up here, but we want to make sure that we enter it in here. Okay, so then this is where you can use a pipe or a dash. I always go space dash space, then fitness. And this is where we can decide whether we want to just go fitness from Science or fitnessfromscience.com. It really doesn't matter, but thinking about it, your Fitness from Science is really a pretty general name, isn't it? So we would probably want to keep everything capitalized, but add the .com. That way, people know it's a specific website. It's not just you're not just saying this is Fitness from Science. Okay, so there's another little tip there. We have 35 characters left. Let's utilize as many of these as possible. 9 characters left is fine for the SEO title. So now I'm going to start reading through. We have to change this to 2014. We have to take, it has to be exact. Include So how can we either use include, which is not a stop word, in our title, or can we rearrange this so that most people's I think that's apostrophe S or S apostrophe. I think it's apostrophe S. Most people's list. People. Okay, so I'm just going to keep reading to it, and I'll come back to this because it might come to me while I'm, you know, reading through this. This is really strong right here. This first paragraph total is really good stuff. I'll help you out with some grammar here since I used to be an English tutor. Which I will be outlining after another comma. And don't worry about the grammar. You know, I realize not everybody is an English professor. So that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. I feel kind of fortunate that I know these little things. Now, when we come to this, this is where I would put. Excuse me. And you know, I quit smoking in the middle of October, Bruce, so you'll be happy to know that. But here's where I would actually change this to. Now what I did is I highlighted this and I copied it. Now I'm going to change this to uh, my fitness pal. Then I'm going to re-highlight it, and then I'm going to add their link to it, another outbound link. It's nice to have, and then just call it my fitness pal. Open it in a new window, right? So we don't lose our visitor. And now what that does is that tells them that, oh, this is something, you know, it's all strung together, and it's lit up, and it's a link. So we kind of did something here that and I want to move out of this like this and then back. Um, anyway, it looks more professional, more websitey, if you like that term. Allowed me to track food. Present tense is correct because that food still has that nutritional stuff. Let me track the string. Okay, this is a good place for a break. I think you wanted that in there. It's awful quiet right now because I'm reading. When you're editing, I'm not really a fast reader anyway. I don't just skim over stuff. But when you're editing, you know, you really got to pay attention to things because if you skip over things, then you're not editing, right? Okay, I'd end this here. You can, it is legal to start a sentence with and or but in that instances, however, um, if our, remember, if we're using this 2014 New Year resolutions, then it has to be absolutely the same across the entire optimization. If you want it to use just this, then you have to remove this from your focus word, right? But we want 2014 in there because we want people to know what we're doing. Now, other than that small mistake, what you didn't do, what we want to do, is we want to have this as an H3 tag in the bottom. That's where we get a little bit of, you know, our trickery from, if you will. Um, what most people think, what successful people think. Okay, I like that photo, that image. An extra space in there we don't need. So now, okay, I've looked through everything, I've done my edits. Now what we need to do is we have our focus phrase kind of here, and we have it down here, but we need it in a few more places. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this draft to see what changes down here. Ah, see? Didn't change that, and I didn't change this. And see, now it automatically see, we don't have 2014. So now that will change that. And we're going to change this sentence because it's not working, right? You can also look here, and we'll get back to this, but this is where we're going to get our main focus for what's missing. Okay, so now we have to do something about getting the focus phrase, which is the complete title, right? It doesn't have to be just 2 words or 1 word. Weight loss, people think, is a key word. We're talking about focus phrases. So how can we rearrange this word? And this is where the tricky part comes in, right? This is where some creativity has to come in, and it's okay to do this afterwards, right? If you're on a writing flow, then continue writing and then come back and do what I'm doing right now, right? You may have to come back and do it 2 or 3 times. This is the process by which we optimize on page and still have something written that is that flows. You know, you can't stop the creative juices, right? Now, what we have to do is we have to take this phrase, we have to add it to our image title and alt tag. Okay, that's going to take care of something down here. Now, how can we change that question? How about let's see, have you jumped on the typical bandwagon for 2014 New Year resolutions, weight loss? Doesn't really weight loss. Ah, see? Here's where we just add an extra word, either weight loss programs, weight loss goals, right? Because now we're using weight loss as an adjective instead of a noun, right? Um, or weight loss wishes. Ah, that sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah. Most people will say have done this for many years with little to no success. Huh? We don't need two periods, just one. So, have you jumped on the typical bandwagon for 2014 New Year resolutions, weight loss wishes? It's a little wordy, but people are going to skim over it. We're not worried so much about when we deal with the focus phrase. Sometimes they're going to sound a little funky. That's why we only use them a few times. But the key thing is that they're exact across the board, right? So now we can take this entire first paragraph and we can see how well it fits in our meta description. Description somewhere here, and how much if we need to cut any out. So we're only 4 over our limit. So here's my trick. Most people. You can have for many years, take that out. Doesn't matter if the meta description matches exactly. That doesn't matter. What matters is only the focus phrase, this right here. Now look at what's been happening since we've been doing our little work here. Now we need to get that focus phrase in a couple more spots. One thing we want to do to this first one is, now that we've got it all worked out, is just come up here and tick the bold, right? It's in our first sentence of our first paragraph. Excellent. So let's see, setting goals is a pretty effective way to focus what you want to accomplish to focus on what you want to accomplish, and then forming the habits to support those goals is what brings them to fruition. I avoid words like this only because we need to keep our our Fletch reading ease. Oh, it's at 80. I guess you did okay. We can leave it in here. But let's see. Let's read this again. It certainly does for me. Setting goals is a pretty effective way to focus on what you want to accomplish, and then see. Now let's just start a new paragraph here. Period. Then forming the habits to support those goals is what brings them to fruition. So we might have to add a paragraph here, or a sentence. I'm not supposed to end a sentence in a preposition. Let's look over. How did I do it? How I did it. That's what that was. How I did it and what struggles I had along the way might be helpful to look over. Using this information, I can now determine how to best approach my own 2014 New Year weight loss program. Huh? You like that, didn't you? So, using this information, I can now determine how to best approach my own 2014 New Year resolutions weight loss program. Eh? Hmm. Hmm? Right. Google doesn't care if it's uh, if it's if the words are nouns or adjectives. The context in which you place them ends up turning them into different um, uh, forms of speech, and that doesn't matter. All that matters is that they're all in the same order, and yeah. Okay, so here we have this so far. Looks pretty good. Let's save it as a draft and see what happens to our page analysis. You have not used your keyword key phrase in any subheading such as an H2 in your copy. Um, okay, here's the thing in dealing with posts that's that you have to kind of overlook when it comes to the SEO plugin, because the plugin does not drive what happens from Google. It's a guide for you to go by in order to make sure that you've included all of the information as it should be included, right? Okay, so uh, if we take and look at the title, right? That's the title. It is in an H1 tag. So the trick we need to focus on is, instead of this being an H3, let's change it to an H2, and that cheats our problem away. Okay. Um, this is going to be on the page, but it's on the page automatically, dynamically. Remember that term? Virtually. It doesn't. We don't have to put it up here. If we wanted to, if we were anal retentive and said, "Oh, well, we want to do this in order for it to appear in our SEO outline here," then we could do that, and it would appear twice, right? We would have the dynamic title here, and then across here would say that 2014 New Year resolutions weight loss. We don't need to do that because according to Google, they are only seeing this HTML page. They're crawling this page. They're not looking at the editor. They're not looking at any of this either. Okay? Now, what we put here is what is going to appear on Google. But as far as it's just kind of hard to explain. You just trust me on this one. The page titles will appear. So the only thing that we should see in uh, what did I do? See, that's what I did. That's why I wasn't showing. So it doesn't have to be an H2 because an H3 is a title tag 2. That's why I was thinking, what the heck? So we got to be careful. You see how it's got to be just exactly the same, um, or it's not gonna register. And I was going to mention while I'm finishing this up here is the reason that 3.8 didn't seem different to you is because I had already updated it. I came in here, I took and I just, for certain clients, you're one of them, that I know I have developmental oversight of. I go in and I do the updating and things like that as they're needed. Like when I update my own sites, then I go in and I update yours. So I had forgotten that I had already done that. Now let's look and see. We shouldn't see that one. Okay, there we go. Keyword density. It's given us like an orangish, right? Which is, you know, it says it's a bit low. It's at 76%. That's not really that low. if we were to add this one more time somewhere, and we'll just throw it in anywhere, right? Because I'm going to take it back out. Okay, now we're at 0.94. It's still giving us that, right? The keyword's 5 times. We don't need 3 times is usually fine. What we had already, the 76% is just fine. I'm gonna go ahead and publish this because it's done. It's ready to go. It's rocking and rolling. And I'll end the video. I don't need to go through the other one with you. It's gonna be the same process unless, you know, you want me to, but recording the videos really drags down the whole process. You can see here it takes a little bit of time, but you see how my train of thought was in going through this, right? We first determine what the best, and you can see here when I change this and put the S in there, I can edit this, right, and put the S in there. Want to do that? Want to make sure that happens, especially since they're not published yet. We can do that without affecting its indexing, right? It hasn't been indexed yet. It's only when we've got indexed pages already at Google and we go to our Webmaster Tools and we want to make an SEO change, an on-page or on-site SEO change to a URL, then we have to address it at Google in our Webmaster Tools. We have to remove the old one and submit the new one and tell them to quit indexing the old one, otherwise you get 404 errors, which it's not a big deal. It doesn't kill you, but you know, the smoother your site runs for Google, the better it is for everyone. So with the exception of, you know, maybe adding a link or something to this image or to this image, we're pretty much good to go. You know, we can add links to these if we want to. Or always remember, any outbound links to external sources, we want to tick the box that says open in a new window. For images, that's under advanced settings. So if you change, see, link to a new window, if you change this to an outbound link, right now it's just linking to the image itself, not a big deal. But if you change that to an outbound link, then you want to make sure that you tick that box in the advanced settings. So that's it. I hope this helps some more in understanding the process of SEOing a post or page, and I'll go on and do the next one.